In 1997, the biggest prize in fishing went to West Country lad Kevin Rolls when his all-out assaults on the roach shoals saw him romp to victory in FishOMania 4. Motor World FishOMania 5's here, bigger and better than ever. From nearly 3,000 entrants, the field has narrowed to the final 18, ready to do battle at Doncaster's Hayfield Lakes. Northampton's Steve Ringer has seen it all before, 11th last year and an agonising second by just 4 ounces in 1996. At 22, he's the youngest angler in the field, but will his previous experience help him walk away with the winner's cheque for £25,000? Once again, the sunshine has arrived at Doncaster's Hayfield Lakes to greet the contestants for Motor World FishOMania, and this is how the draw places them. Peg 1, the peg of death for Ken Seddon. Nobody really fancies this. The wind's off his back. He's got flat calm water in front of him and no cover. Pegs 3, 4 and 5, the start of the island. Steve Ringer's very confident, very, very happy with his draw. Andre Grongin quite liked the look of peg 7, but Andrew Radford thought peg 9 was the flyer. And if he could have picked his peg, that's exactly where he'd have sat. The very fancied higher numbers. Peg 18 got the wind blowing right into the corner for Neil Russell. Tim Hayes seemed very happy. And Glenn Lawrence, well, he's a local lad, put a lot of work in and likes the look of peg 13. Mark Harrington's had a very long journey up from Surrey, and he really liked the look of peg 11. And this is how those pegs place themselves on the lake. The wind is blowing almost from the top of your picture down to the bottom, so the main ripples are in this corner here around from peg 18. He's got all that bank to go at. 14 and 15, 11, 12, 13 on the points give the anglers a lot of scope, plenty of water to fish in. But the main action's expected to centre around this island. This is where the carp call home. They move in there out of the way of the enormous crowds that are sure to be there for FishOMania. But nobody wants peg 1, stuck up in the corner with flat calm water. This is how Hayfield looks under the water. There's a ledge of about 1 metre deep close to the reeds, deepening off to 4 metres, and there should be some bigger fish on the bottom there. But the biggest fish of all will be on the surface, out towards the centre of the lake, where they feel confident and ready to feed.
We are almost ready for action in FishOMania 5. 18 fishermen, the nerves will be jangling now. £25,000 at stake for the winner of FishOMania 5. Here's our MC, Alan Hughes.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to sunny Dunny for this year's Motor World FishOMania 5. As you can see, I have with me here the Lady Mayor of Doncaster to help open the ceremony. We have 18 of the top fishermen in the country competing for a one and only prize of £25,000. Gentlemen, let battle commence.
And we are underway in FishOMania 5. The action continues between now and 2:30, and around 2:40 somebody will be collecting £25,000. You can see the sun still glinting on the water. And well, Keith, what's going on right now? Just talk us through it.
Well, that's the cup on the end of the pole, just depositing some feed exactly where he wants it. So it's right on the spot. He knows exactly where that's going to be. It had taken a far bank marker. We saw Steve Ringer there cast out first. And last year, first cast, he put over the rope, lost his rig, and his confidence just went straight down the drain. This year, he's got it in the water. That's a much better start for him.
I noticed that Steve Ringer had just drifted out to second favourite as well, but he'll be hoping to get off to a flying start. What sort of bait will they be using here, Tommy?
A mixed variety of bait. They could have maggots, casters, sweet corn, but I would think at the start they'll probably have 3 or 4 maggots on a 16, certainly on the feeder, and then obviously they'll be loose feeding the caster swims for the roach, and 1 or 2 of them will fish, I think, probably luncheon meat and paste on the long pole. But I think to start with, most people will throw the feeder out, and I think they'll have 3 or 4 maggots on quite a big hook. So I think if they're going to get an early response, they'll be looking, not necessarily to catch fish early, that'll be a bonus, but I think what they'll be looking to do is get indications that carp are in the swim. They'll be looking for liners on the tip and little plucks and taps, and they'll be baiting the other swims up while they're actually looking at that. I think that will be an advantage if you're on an island. If you're on an island, I think you've got to chuck the feeder in to start with and see what happens.
I think that was Barry Oliver there just feeding some bloodworm. That's a real surprise to me in the summer.
Well, I'll be perfectly honest with you, it's nice to see that because I came down yesterday and somebody said, what would you do if you were fishing it? And I said, well, I'd have 3 kilos of bloodworm and joker.
Why is that a surprise?
Well, it's normally a small fish bait, but of course it's a natural bait and you're almost guaranteed bites on it. If there's fish there, they will eat bloodworm. You catch fish on bloodworm, you won't catch on any other bait.
That's right.
Yeah, but is that an indication then that he's going for the smaller stuff early
Yes.
on? Yeah. Okay, so he's going for roach.
No, well, he's setting his stall out maybe to catch him later on. He might have a rig out looking for carp now, and he just wants the fish to home in on that feed, get feeding confidently, and then he'll go after them when they're really chewing.
Yeah. How much notice will the guys be taking of the people on the next peg, for instance? I mean,
a lot. They'll be watching where people cast and where they're striking and where they're getting indications, just to let them know that there's fish in the area. But yeah, as you cast out and you feed your swims, you're watching the other anglers and what they're doing. And it's just a case of waterside knowledge really, and just keep your eye out on everybody. But information, they'll all have a runner on the bank, they'll all have somebody helping, they'll all get information within 2 or 3 minutes of somebody catching a fish, just to let them know how hard it's fishing or how well it's fishing, hopefully. And everybody will have at least one runner on the bank or one helper.
that's peg 1 at the moment that we're looking at present, and peg 1 thought to be possibly the worst peg, but of course time will tell. That's Ken Snedden, peg 1, and just alongside him there's Ian Burton in peg 2. Why is peg 2 so much potentially better than peg 1 then?
Well, I don't think it is. I think if I had the choice between 1 and 2, I'd have 1 every time because it's an M peg. But peg 2, he's a little bit nearer the island, which again would be a disadvantage to me because the fish can run to the island and he can't possibly fish there. All he's got to look at is his close-in fish and his far shelf, maybe 11 or 12 metres. I wouldn't look at anything else there. I would fish for silverfish from start to finish.
We have our first fish of the day in FishOMania 5, I believe, and it's peg 13, and the man who's landing it is Glenn Lawrence from Barnsley. And there it is. It's an absolute monster, isn't it? What do you make of that, Keith?
Well, I think that's Mark Harrington, actually. He looks like him to me.
Oh, right. Well, that's peg,
he's
peg
in my
11
team.
in that case.
Yeah, peg 11, I think, yeah. Yeah, it was a decent golden orth. That's a good start.
This is peg 9, and this is Andrew Radford. What's happening here, Keith? Apart from the obvious.
That's a carp on the method feeder, and that'll rattle a few cages, that will.
Yeah.
That's the bonus fish I said they're looking for in the first hour. If they can just get that carp in the net, now he can establish a couple of swims down the side and look maybe to catch smaller fish on that later on, should he not catch any more carp. But there's 20 roach there. Yeah. That's just like catching 20 roach.
It took half an hour's fishing away really,
Yeah.
somebody catching roach, yeah. It's a good start. It puts him at ease as well. It keeps him, knows a few fish there now, so keep it there a bit longer as well.
How quickly will word get around then that he's now landed a carp?
They'll all know now.
Yeah?
Oh yeah, they'll all know now, you don't need to worry about that. They'll all know. The runners are zooming down banks, scattered all over, telling the mates what they're catching.
So they say sound travels quicker underwater, it certainly travels quicker along the bank.
Yeah. He's got a carp, he's got a carp. Going down bank.
Steve Ringer's on peg 4. It's his third FishOMania. History is against him because no FishOMania qualifier has ever come back and then landed the big prize. He's been so close in the past. There he is, just 22 years of age. I mean, Keith, does experience count at all? Experience of FishOMania, does that count?
Yes, definitely. He'll have seen it all before. Last year would have probably been his worst ever because he was absolutely twitchy. Last night at the ball, he was completely relaxed. He looks relaxed again this morning. You can see he's biting his nails, but he's certainly not twitching. This time last year, he was shaking like a leaf, and he's not now. He'll be concerned, but he won't be really concerned for an hour and a half. If he hasn't caught after an hour and a half, then he'll be ready to throw all his gear in. But at the moment, he's still fishing his own match.
What's going through his mind at the moment then, Tommy? I mean, he looks very reflective, very meditative, but is he concentrating? Has he got thoughts going through his mind?
He'll be trying to work out what's happening. He'll be watching his tip, concentrating, feeding his 2 or 3 lines he's trying to do, keeping an eye on other people, and just hope his tip goes round to give him a good start, and hopefully he'll catch a couple of early carp, and that'll get him in the full swing. But to qualify 3 times, it's incredible, that. But he's actually qualified 4 times, hasn't he? Because I think he qualified twice this year.
Yeah, he came second on one match to qualify and then won the next qualifier, which put the 3rd place into the frame.
But the other thing is, when you say about experience, experience makes a massive difference. And with him fishing this last year, he'll know and be a bit more calmer about it. But I think it's an incredible feat that to qualify as many times as he's done.
Because they say that qualifying is almost harder than actually winning FishOMania itself. Peg 11 we're going to next, which is Mark Harrington. That's the scene down by peg 11 in the sunlight, and Mark Harrington, who's had a pretty decent start, comes from Surrey, comes from Addlestone, in fact, and single, because he goes fishing, fishing, and well, he has had a decent start here today. Nicknamed Sharky.
Well. Yeah, he's used to this kind of fishing. He fishes these, although not up here in the south, he fishes this kind of venue all the time, used to catching a lot of fish. And very good at it.
Steve Ringer just landing, and our green goddess, Liz Hobbs, is alongside him.
I'm blending in with the countryside, thank you very much, Jeff, and I'm going to go home with red arms. But the 4 ounces that eluded victory from Steve Ringer a couple of years ago is looking like he's already going to land that first 4 ounces and redress the balance. There doesn't seem to be much pulling in at the moment, but Steve's the man that's reeling him in. Steve, what do you think? What have you got on the end there?
Definitely a carp.
A big one?
Feels reasonable, yeah. Be nice to get it in, that's for sure.
Now he's actually taking you out and surfing you around a bit, isn't he?
Yeah, I've hooked it right over by the islands, which has taken a long while to get it back to this side.
I mean, you've got the advantage here because you've got a long cast and you're able to reach the island. Is that going to help you today?
Yeah, especially with the wind on as well. There's a lot of fish over by the island.
Look at that. That is a decent sized carp, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice fish.
Now, you said you were looking for the 15-pounder, Steve.
Not 15 pound.
Not 15-pound, but it's certainly looking like a decent-sized carp here for Steve Ringer from Northampton. He's a 9-2. He's up there as one of the favourites, and he's just about to net his first decent-sized fish.
Tough enough landing the fish, really, isn't it? I wonder how he looks forward to having talk his way through it as well, Keith.
It's absolutely mind-blowing. Tommy was chuckling all the way through that because it's a nightmare. All you're trying to do is concentrate on that fish and you don't want to lose it. And now if that fish was...
first fish.
Exactly. Yeah, it's real pressure. But he can stand it. You can see he was completely relaxed and in charge.
Did quite well, really. So forgets it out.
How tense will he be now, then? I mean,
if I was Billy Knott, I'd be tense. There'd be no more bets on Steve Ringer. He's so confident with that fish that there would be no more bets on Steve Ringer for me.
His knees will be going a bit at bone top.
Oh, yeah.
First fish and everything, but...
It's a big fish, too.
Yeah, it's a good fish, that. I think he's on method feeder as well, isn't he?
It looks to me it's probably 5 or 6 pound, I would think. It's hard to say because we've only seen its tail, but it's definitely a good fish. And Steve's an expert at landing these fish, and it's took him a long time to get it to the net.
how long will it have all taken him then from the moment that he's hooked it?
Oh, it's been 4 or 5 minutes, I would think. You can see the elastic there. Just see the orange elastic through the feeder, taking up the shock absorption. There, it's in the net.
Bingo.
That's a good start. That's
got a view of it. How big do you reckon?
That's coming up.
£3,
yeah, 3 coming up for £4.
Yeah, nice start.
You can't just get hold of 4-pounders.
No. Settle the nerves, that.
Yeah, and what a pretty fish as well.
That's one good thing about this place. You never know what colour next fish is going to be. It could be a gold, yellow, blue.
I won last year. It was a pinky colour with like blue scales. Fantastic fish.
And that, of course, is where the action happens, and you've probably just caught the hooter going behind us, which indicates that the weigh-in is about to take place.
Welcome back to FishOMania 5, and let's have a look at the state of play after the first of the half-hourly weigh-ins. And Steve Ringer on peg 4 has flown straight into an early lead with 1.66 kilos, followed by Andrew Radford on peg 9 with just over a kilo. The high numbers expected to show a lot of fish have just been graced by one, Mark Harrington, with just over half a kilo.
Steve Ringer's had a pretty good start, hasn't he? Might be the youngest finalist at FishOMania, but of course he's probably one of the most experienced at this event. This is his third final in 3 years, and of course 2 years ago came agonisingly close, just ounces away, finished in second place. Last year he was disappointed to come 11th. He's hoping this year, well, the final won't be a dead ringer for Steve Ringer. Controversy at the moment. Keep nets, obviously going to be used here, Keith.
Yep.
But Ken Ball has been saying that maybe, you know, in terms of pleasure fishing, that keep nets shouldn't be used. What's his view
Well,
on
the
that?
maximum length of any match is going to be 5 hours. You keep fishing a net for 5 hours is no problem at all. When you keep them in a net for 15 hours, which some pleasure sessions can be, then obviously it's not particularly good for the fish. Net design now is excellent. They're big enough, there's lots of oxygen gets into them, and the fish stay very, very happy in them because they're dark. And in dark water, fish won't swim around too much, so it's not a major problem. But when you're putting fish in them for over a long period of time, it's definitely better to return the fish straight away.
That's Andrew Radford, peg 9. There he is. Comes from Nottingham, so not too far away from here. Hobbies include squash, snooker, surprise, surprise, eating fish. So he catches a few today. We'll be putting them back, one imagines.
Definitely, yeah. He wants to batter the other anglers, not the fish.
Now, come on, just tell me, what is this exotic collection of bait in front of us? I mean, it looks like Chinese meal to me.
Well, if you eat things in a Chinese restaurant that move around like those, Jeff, you're a braver man than I am. There's a whole variety of baits there. You'll see coloured sweet corn. That'll be flavoured. There might be spicy flavour there. There might be a fruity flavoured sweet corn. There's various colours of maggots. Fish like coloured maggots. Red is a naturally hungry colour. It's why all the burger bars are coloured red. It makes you hungry when you walk past them. The bronze maggots, the orangey colour, most fish eggs are an orange colour. So it's a fish that naturally expect to be eating.
Garlic sausage was something that was mentioned to me.
Well, I won't have any just at the moment, maybe for lunch. Yeah, they
But
do.
seriously, these guys use things like that?
The old monster stuff, pepperami, is an excellent fish bait. An excellent fish bait. That, believe it or not, is a big fish of its kind. That was a big gudgeon, I think, Kim, wasn't it?
Was
I
it?
wasn't quite.
looked
I was
like it,
actually
yeah.
thinking it might be a small barbel.
It probably was. That probably
Are there
was.
barbel in
That's
this
one of those small barbels that he stocked. Yeah, he stocked some this year.
That's the scene on peg 11. That's Mark Harrington. It's one of the pegs which so far hasn't been catching much, but looks like things could be improving there, Keith.
Yep, Mark's still putting some fish in the net. He's fishing on the surface and he's feeding almost constantly. He's just trying to get those fish really buzzing around in the feed, competing with each other, and therefore feeding well. He's got over a kilo there.
This is Andrew Radford, I think, from peg 9.
He had a carp on the first way, he's got another carp. What a fantastic fish.
What sort of size would that be, Kim?
Difficult to tell on
Getting
the
on for
screen.
£4, I would think.
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
pushing that size, 1.5 kilos plus certainly.
Yeah. It's over 2.
It's more
Over
like
2
£5.
kilos, £5, yeah.
2 kilos, 5.
That's Andrew Radford, who's on peg 9. Andrew Radford from Nottingham, and going pretty well. Now then, what about the early leader, Steve Ringer from peg 4? How have things been going for him in the last half hour or so?
And he's
Let's find out.
blistering away in the lead here, Steve Ringer. There's no other way to say it. This is the weigh-in. It happens every half an hour. The fish are taken from the net, put into a weighing net. It's a big fish, this one. I'm not sure if it's quite as big as the first fish he caught, which was 1.66 kilos, but it's looking like it's going to be over the kilo anyway, maybe 1.2-ish. And this is the all-important weigh-in for Steve. It looks like he's streaking out into this. A lovely carp. 1.2 kilos, that's for Steve Ringer. I'm sure that's going to put him way out into the lead now. And this is the one that matters to him, these all-important weigh-ins every half an hour, and they're coming right the way through the whole 5 hours of the day. 1 kilo 200, that's Steve Ringer, and I reckon that's put him in the lead.
That's Neil Russell out on peg 18. Favoured peg, but frustrating start for him. Real test of patience, isn't it, Kim?
Yeah, I'm surprised he's changed tactics with the carp potentially out in front of him. I mean, it's meant to be a favoured carp peg, and it's probably a bit late to start roach fishing. I'm not sure he'll be able to catch up doing that. I may be wrong.
Let's take a look, shall we, at the leaderboard and see where
He's actually got a fish on
Neil
there.
features. That's how things stand at the moment. This is in peg order, of course, and you can see the position as well. Ken Seddon has caught from peg 1. It puts him in 7th place at the moment. Roger Young still looking for his first fish on peg 3. So 1, 2 and 3, not found too much so far. Steve Ringer, the leader, though, with very nearly 3 kilos already. 2 kilos 86, going really well. He's in 2nd place. But Andrew Radford is our new leader from peg 9. He's had a tremendous half hour. He leads now with more than 3.5 kilos. And those on the higher pegs, well, at the moment, it's still been pretty sparse, hasn't it? Glenn Lawrence has caught his first fish of the day from peg 13, but you can see Mark Taylor, Colin Holdcroft, Tim Hayes and Andrew Butler all still waiting for their first catch of the day. And although Neil Russell has caught, at the moment, nothing significant. Steve Ringer still catching fish out on peg 4 at the moment. Remember, he was in 2nd place at the 10:30 weigh-in, and we're midway towards the next weigh-in. That's his 2nd fish that we know of since that 10:30 weigh-in. So things going pretty well, Kim, for Steve Ringer at the moment.
Going very well, and I almost had a bet on him last night and forgot to. Big mistake.
Yeah, you're sounding like me now, almost had a bet.
I went and had a word with him, and he was happy with his draw. He fancied his chances. He was just worried about the weather, but he sounded so confident. I was going to put money on.
Let's go out and about again, shall we? And that's Tim Hayes on peg 16. Tim, who says his ambition is to win the FishOMania final. His nickname is Rip Van Winkle. And his occupation is a sewing machine technician. Now, I've got a small secret. If you promise you won't tell anybody, he could come in very useful today to us, and in particular to Liz Hobbs. Can I tell you why? Yeah, I probably can. Zip-on trousers has broken this morning. Tim, when you're finished fishing, off to see Liz Hobbs. She needs your help, and she needs it soon. Peg 16 at the moment has not been a particularly good peg as far as Tim Hayes is concerned. It's been pretty quiet in his neck of the woods, or rather neck of the waters, as it is at the moment. Steve Ringer having a golden hour and a half at the moment. Keith?
Yeah, I've been watching him. He's casting about 3 metres short of the island, which is good tactics, really tight, and only needs something little to spook him. But where he's casting, he's got so much feed going in there. He's even got coots hovering, waiting for his feeder. He's so accurate, the fish are there.
That's Steve Ringer. We're going to move along to peg 15 right now, though, where we can join Will Chignall.
Well, here I am with Glenn Lawrence. He's currently in 3rd. His game plan was to catch roach, and he's certainly doing it. Glenn, how's it going?
Getting a few now, but they're not coming as fast as I'd like them to. I've had to go down inside, but they're not there yet, so I've gone back out onto a long pole.
Are you going to have a flirt with the carp or stick with the roach?
Well, I've heard Mr. Ringer's had 4 onto this last half an hour, so I might have to go another go look for a carp.
Are you keeping an eye on the leaderboard then?
Yeah, certainly am.
Best of luck.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Here's Steve Ringer, and this is going to be pretty impressive, I would think, Keith.
A lot of fish going on the scales here. He's started really bagging now. That's a good fish. There's 2.5 kilos there, I would think, at least. That's a bit smaller, a kilo there, though.
Well, let's just pop down, shall we now, because standing bang alongside Steve Ringer is Liz Hobbs.
This is unbelievable because Steve Ringer literally has been bagging about 1 fish every 2 minutes in this last session. In fact, we're having to do 2 bag loads in order to get the full weight, and they're big carp that he's pulling out. It's made a big difference with him casting right over onto the far bank, right over into the reeds. There's a shelf over there, there's shallow water, and that's where the big carp seem to be biting. And Steve has got a pretty unique cast. It takes a big man to cast about 60 yards, and that's exactly what Steve's doing today. Well, that's the first bag that's been weighed in, and we're now looking to load the second bag. So what the judge from the National Federation of Anglers has to do is he has to make sure that the scales are absolutely bang on before he puts the fish in. Okay, so now the scales have to be lifted up. The net must not touch the ground, it must not touch the grass, otherwise it's a void weight. So there's the final fish of Steve Ringer's going into the net now, ready for the judge from the Federation of Anglers to go on the scales, and we'll see what Steve Ringer's total weight is for this session. Quite an amazing catch. And they don't want to lie still. 3 kilos 660 plus the 4 kilos 540. So we're looking here for Steve Ringer of a total weight of 8.2 kilos. Let's go down to see Steve quickly and just see what the difference in him catching 8.2 kilos in this last session. Steve, that's an amazing catch, 8.2 kilos. What's making the difference?
Well, I'm chucking right over by the island where it's really shallow, and in the hot weather, the fish are just getting in the warm water and they're sitting right over there. It's a combination of like the crowd pushing them as far away from the anglers as they can get.
How do fish react to the crowd?
Well, they've never seen it before. Nobody's ever seen this many people on the bank before. And they're scared, basically, so they try and get as far away from the activity as they can, and all that's happened is they've gone over to the island and they can't go any further.
Is the light breeze helping you a little bit as well?
Yeah, definitely. Keeps the silk glare off the water, and it makes it they just feel a lot more confidently.
Would you say here at Hayfield that this is the ideal conditions now?
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for better conditions now. It's absolutely brilliant conditions.
You were nervous last night. You were propping up the bar till rather late.
Yeah.
You seem to have relaxed a bit now.
Yeah, it's like, last night I was really nervous because like everybody, they were saying, oh, Steve Ringer's favourite. And like, it doesn't get any easier, even though I've been here for years, it doesn't get any easier to come here and like still get the nerves. But now like I've settled into a bit of a rhythm, getting plenty of bites, and I'm really enjoying it.
It's good to see you catching so many fish,
Cheers.
Steve, and I can see £25,000 spinning in your eyeballs at the moment.
I can't see it quite yet.
We'll leave you to it. That's Steve Ringer. He's just caught 8.2 kilos in the last weigh-in. What an amazing weight. And we're in the lead.
Hello again from FishOMania 5, and after 3 weigh-ins and an hour and a half of high tense fishing, we've got our first leaderboard, and in first place, Steve Ringer with over 11 kilos of carp, followed by Andrew Radford with 3.5 kilos. On peg 11, Mark Harrington's making do with small fish, and Neil Russell in highly fancied peg 18, to be honest, is struggling, and the rest are doing even worse. There are 3 anglers still fishless, and for the rest, it's just the odd small catch that's making its way to the net.
Alan, you were saying the danger is he might catch too quickly. Well, how do you avoid doing that?
Well, there's 2 ways you can actually do it. You can change your method, which Steve obviously is not going to do that. But I just think he just needs to slow himself down a little bit. If he takes too many fish, I think he'll definitely make a mess of it. I think it did actually happen last year. One angler caught very, very quickly at the start. And, you know, I just think he's in danger of going too quick.
Of course, he's the youngest competitor in this field. But in terms of experience, he's plenty experienced, Keith, isn't he?
He's very experienced at this kind of fishing. He fishes carp, matches whenever he can. He's used to catching big, big weights. And he'll know what he's about. See what he's doing something that the sea anglers call double patting. He's actually got one rig on his rod and another rig ready to clip on in his ground bait bucket. So when he winds a fish in, he'll put the fish in the landing net, unclip the rig, clip the other rig on, cast out, then unhook the fish and put it in his net. So he's wasting no time at all. Maybe that's just going to empty his swim a bit. We've just seen him lose another fish as well, unfortunately. We think he did. Now he's winding in, he's not had a bite that cast. And, you know, was that a little touch of despondency almost there, because he's not caught a fishing, he's been used to catching one every 2 minutes, he's not caught one for 10 minutes. You know, is he thinking the wheels might have dropped off?
What about his style there? Approve of that, fellas?
He's a class act. This kind of fishing is a class act. He's extremely determined as well. So I'm quite convinced that he'll be going out there confident of catching more fish.
That's Steve Ringer. What about the guys who are not catching at the moment? I mean, what's going to be going through their mind at the moment, Alan?
I think, where Steve's gone off, it's going to be difficult now to actually chase him with other fish. I think, most of the field's going to finish up carp fishing, unless all of a sudden the wheels do drop off for him and he stops catching. You know, maybe then people who's fishing for roach, if they start to respond, I mean, they've still got quite a bit of time left. They could still pull back.
That's peg 18 at the moment, and well, the word was that Neil Russell was starting to catch, and that certainly looks to be the case. Neil Russell, who comes from Walsall. Many people thought this was the plum peg. This is the fella who says his hobbies are fishing, fishing, and more fishing, and he's doing it pretty effectively today. But so far, things still going Steve Ringer's way.
He'll be getting the bubble along the bank that Neil's catching, and he'll just be twitching a touch. He'll still think, oh, I'm in front, but hang on, he's caught me up 5 kilos. And things will start happening, believe me.
But Alan, these guys are so good, aren't they? I mean, how often would they lose a fish?
You lose odd fish. One of the problems with carp is occasionally, if one actually turns away from the bait, sometimes you can actually just foul up them at the, around the sides of the mouth, and basically they're on for 2 or 3 seconds and come off. But normally any fish that's hooked in the mouth are rarely lost.
Hook technology and everything now is so good. We're using barbless hooks. Barbless hooks go into the fish, no damage at all to the fish, and they don't come out. The old barbless patterns used to be a bit suspect. The new ones now are absolutely brilliant. We've got designs of the bend of the hook now, so where you actually put the knot of the hook keeps the fish going, and that's an absolutely cracking fish. That's a beautiful looking fish.
And what an appreciative crowd we have here as well. You'll have heard that round of applause for Steve Ringer landing yet another nice fish. He was our leader at the last weigh-in, and I'll tell you what, he's certainly going to be our leader at the next weigh-in as well, putting pressure on absolutely everyone just at present. Out on peg 11, catching there as well. That's the
There's
scene.
Mark Harrington now. He's switched to the feeder, and he's on the now. This could be interesting because Mark's fishing. That's a little waggler. Mark's fishing the surface with a little waggler. While he was feeding his pole line shallow, he was obviously spraying bait out further, and now he's gone and he's caught a carp, and that's a decent fish on the wag. Now, if he can keep them out there.
I think everybody's approach will have changed now. With Steve, going off so quickly, they'll all have changed their approach to the match, really.
Anyway,
what a beautiful fish this is.
That's a big carp.
Look at that. What a beautiful
Looks like he's had another good half an hour,
Yeah.
Keith, doesn't it?
What an amazing sized fish this is. 2,680 on its own. Nobody else seems to be pulling in very much, but Steve Ringer is pulling in the carp, and he's reeling them in at about a rate of 1 every 2 or 3 minutes. There we go, there's 3 beautiful fish in there going on the scales for Steve Ringer. We've been talking about the options down here, Keith and Jeff, and what we've been saying is that the options are to fish close into the bank, go for the skimmers, the bream, the roach, and the gold north like Kevin Rolls caught a lot of last year. And there are some catfish out there, but these are the ones that are making the difference.
In the last 30 minutes, the leader, Steve Ringer, has put nearly 6 kilos of fish onto the scales. The rest are really having a battle to keep pace. Andrew Radford's managed just 1 small fish. Mark Harrington's fish have dried up on him. Tim Hayes has found 1 or 2. But unless those carp start to feed further along the lake, this is looking a bit like a 1-horse race. At least 2 of our 3 blankers have managed to catch a fish. Ken Seddon's making a valiant showing from peg 1. But it's a bit of a battle out there in the brilliant sunshine.
You always want a bet, don't you, after you know the winner? And last night I was thinking, I've got to have a bet on Steve. I've got to put some money on him. And his odds were very short anyway, so Billy Knott's pretty shrewd, he knows.
Did you always think this was going to be one of the favoured pegs?
No, not really. There's not just that one. He just knows also exactly what he's doing. He's lost that fish.
Lost that one right there.
Yeah. He's obviously practiced, put a lot of work in, because it's big money, isn't it? It's probably more than a year's salary to most of these people, so it's worth spending a month here, practice, a lot of effort to make sure that on the day they've got everything right.
You always say, don't you, the pressure's on him because there is £25,000 at stake, so on and so forth. But he's almost so far in front now that the pressure's not on him, really, is it, in some respects?
That's right. He will have forgotten all about cameras now. The first nerves will have gone. He will have had a few at first. When you get a lot of people watching, you're bound to have a few nerves. But they'll have all gone now. He's well in front. He's catching fish. He knows exactly what he's doing. And when you're confident in what you're doing, you know, then all your nerves go. When you're confident that what you're doing is better than anybody else, he is supreme at the moment. Nobody else can match him for skill and ability on the lake at the moment. And he is in front, and so he will feel really confident.
He's had a great day, of course. Andrew Butler on peg 17's had a less good day. But things are improving. That's his first fish of the day, so that will be a major relief. It's come almost on the stroke of noon, so he's had 2.5 hours, 2.5 barren hours, and has finally landed his first fish. Pretty important not to lose faith, I would guess, and not become despondent in that sort of time. It's a fair old while, isn't it? 2.5 hours not catching when everybody else is.
And carp are strange. Suddenly they can move in and feed, you know, and suddenly you can someone can start to catch him.
This is peg 11.
That's Mark Harrington. That's a beautiful carp. That's a proper ghost carp. Unfortunately, he needs about 4 or 5 of those.
It's a big fish, though.
That's a good fish, yeah.
2 kilo plus, isn't it, that?
Just about 2 kilos.
Oh, no, it's not 2, yeah. It's about £4,
yeah.
Just under 2.
And I suppose at this stage they're all as well looking and hoping that Ringer's fish have dried up.
Yeah. But every time they hear a round of applause, they'll look round expecting it to be behind peg 4.
Halfway through the match and Steve Ringer is romping away with FishOMania 5. 21.5 kilos of fish in the net. Mark Harrington's putting in a valiant struggle in second, but he's way behind. The fish have dried up on Neil Russell down at peg 18. He had them there for a minute or two and they've just disappeared. Now we're seeing everybody with fish on the scales, which will make those anglers that were struggling a bit happier, but they won't be happy until they see those carp rolling in like they are for Steve Ringer.
Said earlier on that he wasn't quite envisaging that £25,000, but he wouldn't be human if it wasn't just crossing his mind just for a moment or two at the moment. And this is out on peg 11. This is Mark Harrington, who, by everybody else's standards, has had a pretty good morning. But unfortunately, he's, along with the other 16 or 17 here, is not quite in Steve Ringer's class just at present. But another fish landed by Mark Harrington. Fantastic crowds once again here at FishOMania this year, and no signs really that the alternative attractions of youth have put people off from coming fishing. Certainly not today of all days, and the bouncy leopard in the background there, an alternative form of arrangement if they don't find the fishing quite as enthralling as they'd anticipated. And the 12:30 weigh-in going on at the moment, and that's Mark Harrington's latest bag. You heard him say he really needs to catch 2 or 3 fish every half hour. He's not at the moment. He's catching on average just 1 fish every half hour. And that won't be enough the way things are looking to catch Steve Ringer. And this is Steve Ringer's latest total. Keith, what do you think?
It's not just a single fish, is it? That's a good carp just gone in. There's over 2 kilos there. Little tiny one just gone in.
Little tench.
And there's another, that's a ghosty. That's not quite a kilo. He's probably got 4 kilos close to him there, which is...
I tell you what, Keith, this is turning out to be as one-sided as last year's FA Cup final.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I smiled at the end of that as well.
3 kilos, 2
There's over 3 kilos there. That first carp was bigger than it looked.
What a phenomenal day. I don't think he can believe it himself, shaking his head.
Surrey's Mark Harrington in second place is making a valiant attempt to catch Steve Ringer, but his carp catching consistency is keeping him way out in front after 6 weigh-ins and 3 hours of Motor World FishOMania 5. The rest, well, they're adding to their suntans but to be honest, they're not putting many fish into the keep net. Poor Colin Holcroft sitting there in last place with just 10 grams.
Now then, someone has a fish, and we're not too sure who it is just at the moment.
Glenn Lawrence.
Glenn Lawrence, the man they call Hedgehog.
My draw in the sweep.
Yeah? Peg 13. Been a pretty unlucky day for him so far. But, well, fingers crossed he's about to land something here.
Will said he just had one decent mirror carp. And if he's caught two quite quickly, he's fishing the floating pole, they can just come in very quickly. See the swirls there, it's getting ready for the net now. Here we go. Go on, get in that net.
Tell you what, this is not the time you want to lose one, is it? Live on
TV.
TV.
Don't say he's going to... No. Jeff, don't talk about people losing fish like that. How cruel.
Steve Ringer. But that's peg 16 now that we're taking a look at now. That's Tim Hayes.
He'll probably be fishing floating bread there because he's using a controller float where the line passes through the top rather than through the bottom. So the line floats on the surface and the bait actually sits right on the surface film. Now he's either using bread crust or dog biscuit or something like that. And these fish average generally £6 or £7 when you catch them like that. That's probably the biggest fish in the match so far.
Hello and welcome back to FishOMania 5. And the main change we see at the top of the leaderboard is Tim Hayes has leapfrogged into second place and Steve Ringer's catch rate has slowed up a bit. Maybe his assault on the carp on the island have just put them down for a few minutes, but I'm sure they'll be back. Glenn Lawrence is up there too. He's had a fish or two in the last half hour, but for the rest of them, I'm afraid the also-ran department are still very much that.
Let's go out and about again, shall we? Andrew Radford, peg 9, has been there or thereabouts, to be honest, all day long. You heard a little earlier Tim Hayes saying that they were, well, chasing ghosts, really. But they have to keep battling away, and Andrew Radford is battling away. Another nice fish for him. This is peg 10, Jeff Chandler, Jeffers, as he's known. And there we are.
Good fish, isn't it?
Yeah, excellent fish. A few more fish starting to show now.
Maybe that's because I think people have realised that the match is getting away from them. They're actually changing the tactics and just totally fishing for carp. And also they started feeding, whereas they might have been fishing for roach early and thought, well, I'm not going to catch him now unless I catch carp. And I'll fish for carp, and they started catching them. So if somebody gets about £30 in the last hour, they're going to be very disappointed they haven't done it all day.
Yeah. Yeah, just as Jeff Chandler, there's the facts and figures about him, 36 years of age, aircraft handler, loves to eat anything with chips. And he comes from Kidlington. Hope he's having a good day so far. The 1:30 weigh-in is coming up very shortly. And you just wonder actually now whether roles have been reversed a little, that the pressure is off the other 17, because I guess that none of them in truth really expect to catch Steve Ringer now. In a way, they're fishing for pride and pleasure, and who knows, if they catch the big one, or the big two more like it, things could yet turn around. This is Steve Ringer's latest catch. See what sort of half hour it's been for him.
One in there somewhere.
Come out wherever you are.
How did that get in?
Just one fish, very, very nice fish though. That's a kilo plus, I would think.
Yeah, over a kilo.
Yeah.
Will the rest take any hope from the fact, Keith, that that's just one carp in the past hour?
Oh yeah, because we've seen three people that haven't weighed yet catch individual fish twice as big as that. Now it's still small beer really, but you know, as I said, £82 in 2 hours is possible. £40 is possible in an hour.
Yeah.
You know, I know it is all over to all intents and purposes, but there is a chance.
With just 1 hour left of FishOMania 5, I think we can safely say Steve Ringer is in the pound seats. But Tim Hayes has had the honour of catching the largest fish of the match.
These blokes don't want to, they want to catch fish. You know, they want to catch fish. They can't, they probably know now they can't win, but they want to catch fish.
It appears
they want to
everybody's
show
playing
people
carp
what they
now,
can do.
don't
Yeah.
It's incredible now. Everybody seems to be playing carp.
There's Andrew with another fish.
Yeah.
They've just come back to him.
But he's going to find that frustrating, isn't he? You know, catching early, then they've deserted him, and now, probably when it's too late, they've come back.
Yeah, that happens unfortunately at times, whether you do something wrong yourself or whether it's just the way the fish are moving on. It's sometimes you don't really know, but...
It's why most of the anglers you've had up here have got hair that's a bit thin. It's why me, why me, you know?
But seriously, Keith, will they go home and blame themselves, or will they just think, well, that was just the way it went on the day?
You never blame yourself. No. It was the peg, the wind, the water, the weather, the bait, the rod, the reel, the light.
Of excuses. It's that thick.
Let's see what sort of fish this is then, shall we, for Andrew Radford?
The thing is about this game is, it's certainly this level and the level that we're fishing, you have to be honest with yourself as well. And if you've had a bad match, you don't need telling, you know, no. As long as you go home and learn by it, it's very important. Looks a good fish again, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you do know, when you make a wrong decision, that's not quite so bad as making a good decision and then not doing it.
That's right.
What you've got to do is you should never, ever go home and saying, if only I'd have done that.
Yeah. We can all fish good matches after the event, and the winners are the people that make them during the event.
I've now got a car that only I can go fishing in. I can't take another person.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Because I was murdered on the way home. Honestly, you couldn't. If I'd had a bad match, you wouldn't want to be anywhere near me. Never mind in the same car.
I'm terrible. I've just been with my daughter, and she's not won the fish, junior FishOMania, and she's absolutely gutted. She's 12 years. I can't believe she's 12-year-old. I can't believe the disappointment she's showing.
In tears.
She's in tears because she hasn't won, and she's broke her favourite pole. But because she hasn't won, it meant that much to her. And I'm quite pleased, really, because I can see the competitive edge in her, and I know that that'll benefit her in years to come.
And that hooter means that we're at the penultimate weigh-in. I wonder what Steve Ringer has in the bag this time. Well, he appears to have the FishOMania title in the bag for a start, and the cheque for £25,000 in the bag to take home to Ravensthorpe in Northamptonshire. But we shall see very shortly what the last half hour has yielded.
That's a nice fish.
You didn't enjoy
that? We
that?
saw Andrew Radford land that. It's a nice fish, isn't it?
Yeah, bonny fish that.
Oh, we'll just get another closer look, shall we?
Did we see the weight on that fish?
I heard too. It's very slender, Tom.
Yeah.
The penultimate weigh-in for FishOMania 5, and Andrew Radford and Mark Harrington have leapfrogged Tim Hayes into third and second place. But there's no prizes for those places. It's winner take all, and there can only be one winner of FishOMania 5, and that's Steve Ringer.
Finishing as he started, really.
Yeah.
Fish on. Yeah.
Still catching. Absolutely phenomenal. We've talked, Keith, about the fact that we live in a high-tech era. In terms of fishing now, I mean, is fishing still progressing? I mean, we talk about luncheon meat and worms and so on and so forth. But what sort of technical advances are being made?
Well, certainly in big fish baits, in specialist carp circles and barbel circles, there are very, very high-tech baits now. But if you look at the tackle development, our development, fishing tackle development, is probably level with, maybe even slightly in front of golf club technology.
Really?
Oh, that's how high-tech it is. When you think that some of the lads today will be fishing with roach poles that are over 50 feet long, that you can sit and hold and control at the other end, and then hook a big fish, it's got enough flexibility on it to play it and land it. And that's phenomenal. We're using the same technology as Formula One motor racing, as space shuttles.
This is Peg 9, and this is Andrew Radford, who's done pretty well in the last hour or so. I'm sure he's thinking too little, too late, and what might have been. But, well, second, if you go away in second place, you take away a fair deal of personal pride, and you dare say you're getting a good deal of respect from your fellow anglers, Keith.
An awful lot of respect. Anybody that gets to the final of FishOMania has got the respect of their peers, and if they get in the top 3, then they are real superstars.
That's Andrew Radford.
There's one method, Jeff, I ain't seen on anybody fish again this year, and I've said it last year. There's nobody come with like 12 pints of maggots and actually filled it in and fished a waggler for them. And this place does respond to them.
Mark Harrington's done it most of the day.
Has he really?
He started on the pole and then he started spraying and fishing shallow, and he'll either be second or third.
But I'm talking about fishing a waggler at distance.
Oh, but the big wagon, sticky mags,
Yeah, fishing it out, and nobody's done it
Nobody's
again.
done it, no.
No.
That's the scene. And, well, he can almost be packing up now, can't he? But he's not, because he still has 2 or 3 minutes to go before he picks up the biggest check that he's ever won, the biggest check he's ever liable to win, £25,000. Absolutely phenomenal. And just a sigh of relief more than anything else.
Congratulations, mate. Well done, son.
I think self-expectation was so high. There's a tier or two, I think, there as well. And why not? What a day for this young man. Just a small smile.
The worst part now, he's got to pack all his tackle up. That's it.
Steve, look this way. Steve, and your good lady look this way. I think it was a big smile.
Fantastic stuff. Trophy for Steve Ringer. Deposit on the house for his girlfriend.
I bet that's the first time he's ever given her a cuddle coming home from fishing when he had to wash his hands first.
Fantastic day for them both, and for the family who are there as well. And it's never been in doubt. They can have enjoyed a good day because there have been so few doubts. Oh!
Get in there.
Got to stay too short.
We had a suspicion it might happen.
Come in again, please.
Good old boy.
And here's the final leaderboard for FishOMania 5. Colin Holcroft didn't add to his 10 grams. Tony Hammond, Mark Taylor, Ken Seddon pegged 1. We knew it was bad. And the other Irish qualifier, Lyndon Reed, no better than 14th. Anthony Sparrow, Barry Oliver, Roger Young, Jeff Chandler in 10th. And Andrew Butler in 9th, with Andre Grandjean, Ian Burton, Neil Russell, Fancy Glenn Lawrence in 5th. Tim Hayes in 4th place, Mark Harrington 3rd, and Andrew Radford in 2nd. But there was only one winner, and that's Steve Ringer.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the winner. First prize, a gold medal, the Motor World FishOMania 5 trophy, a magnum of champagne, and a cheque for £25,000 goes to a catch 28.20 kilos, and it's Steve Ringer. He's this year's winner.